SpongeBob SquarePants is one of the most popular animated series on Nickelodeon. A study even found that it made preschoolers slower thinkers, as it has an impact on abstract thinking, impulse control, and short-term memory. But there are plenty of other reasons why you shouldn't let your kid watch this show. Make sure you watch this video until the end to see the most terrible thing Plankton ever did, if you think that you are old enough to see this. If you love SpongeBob SquarePants as much as we do, don't forget to subscribe, and please give this video a big thumbs up. Today we are showing you 10 SpongeBob SquarePants episodes that weren't for kids. The Play's the Thing. This episode started in the strangest way, and this is probably what makes it one of the most inappropriate jokes on the show. The mailman went to the Krusty Krab to give a letter to Squidward, but SpongeBob realized that he was the only one in the restaurant. His coworker wasn't there yet. How can he not be at his post at the Krusty Krab? There should always be someone at the cash. This is why he blew a couple of balloons and sculpted them to make it look like Squidward. But as he was holding it in his hand, it just looked like he was blowing a bunch of condoms, and it looked even worse when one of them grew up to be the size of, you know what we're talking about. Balloons are usually much more colorful, so why did SpongeBob have condoms in his pocket? He doesn't have any girlfriend. Anyway, our favorite character turned their condoms into his coworker while the mailman was looking at him confused. It just got worse when Squidward's nose deflated. SpongeBob was so bad at pretending that he was Squidward that the poor mailman just ran away screaming. This is what happens when you play with condoms in public. People think that you are weird. Let the kids play with real balloons instead. Demolition Doofus. In this episode, SpongeBob had to go to class again because, as we all know, he never learned how to drive. Everything was going wrong, and Mrs. Puff got bigger and bigger no matter how hard SpongeBob tried to do his best. She was so stressed that she exploded, and it is only in the hospital that Mrs. Puff found out that she ruptured her inflation sac and she will never puff again. SpongeBob tried to make her laugh by saying that they would have to call her Mrs. Puff. Now, we all knew that she wouldn't be laughing at this joke, but it just got worse. Mrs. Puff jumped on SpongeBob and tried to strangle him with murder in her eyes. The animators tried to make it funny by making the sponge say that it tickles, but Mrs. Puff was so angry that the doctor actually had to stop her. She wasn't feeling better the day after, as she fantasized on many ways SpongeBob could die, like by being hit by many cars at the same time. And she actually tried to make that happen by making him participate in a demolition derby. We don't know about you, but we think that a teacher trying to kill her student is really inappropriate. Kids must have been traumatized after seeing that. What will happen if they fail their driving class too? Squid Ville. In this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick received new reef blowers, and they decided to have fun with it. This gadget couldn't only blow but also suck, which sounds really inappropriate when you say it out loud. Anyway, they decided to suck some parts of Squidward's house, including the nose of his house and the windows. Their neighbor was upset, so they tried to fix it but destroyed his house instead. This is why Squidward decided to move far away from them in Squid Ville with other people like him. They all had the same house, the same interests, and mostly the same things that they disliked. However, there is also one thing that we really hated about them. They were racist. The only species allowed to live in this place were squids. Before he entered, he was asked if he was or had ever been a sponge or a star. He had to confirm that he was a squid to have the right to enter. It just makes us think of the neighborhoods in America that don't accept people of color because, yes, it does exist. Squidward was proud to be among his own kind, but we think that this kind of place should never be portrayed in a good way. Our favorite squid ended up missing his old neighborhood, so he left, and we think that this is the best decision he ever made, but we think that the other squids should have learned a lesson too. Squidbob Tentacle Pants. In this episode, Sandy invented a new gadget that allowed teleportation. SpongeBob wanted to try it to go to work faster, but he ended up right where Squidward was, with his arm in his mouth. Then the two co-workers were teleported back, which created a new creature that we could call Squidbob Tentacle Pants. It was the most terrible thing that could happen to Squidward, as he was getting ready for his recital the day after, and this occasion was really important for him. But we think that he was even more scared when SpongeBob said that it means that they could be best friends forever. This is why they went back into the teleportation machine and terrified everyone in the neighborhood as their two bodies were mixed together. They terrified the kids at school, a new mom at the hospital, and even seduced the aliens. But those who were the most terrified were the kids at home watching SpongeBob SquarePants. That's because this episode was inspired by a horror movie called The Fly that only grown-ups should watch. We don't know about you, but we think that watching a disgusting monster is not the best way to start your day before school. It could have been a Halloween special, but there is no way this scary episode was made for kids. Gary takes a bath. In this episode, it It was that time of the week again. Gary had to take a bath, but the snail was not interested in going into the tub. SpongeBob tried to play fetch by throwing a ball in the bathtub, but the ball came back. Then he tried to scare the poor Gary by saying that a bomb would explode if he didn't take a bath, and the pet couldn't care less. Playing leapfrog didn't work either, just like offering money. But when he tried to assault his mind with subliminal messages, SpongeBob shared a little too much of his thoughts. He thought about the bathtub, the shower, the soap, and then suddenly there was a girl laughing in his mind. It had gone too far, and SpongeBob said, "Sorry you had to see that." Obviously, this is a kid's cartoon, so they couldn't show a really beautiful girl. They showed a kind of weird but really funny girl instead. But grown-ups all knew what happened in SpongeBob's mind, and this is exactly the reason why they don't want people to read their mind. Let's say that, according to the myth, men think about this every 7 seconds, and SpongeBob is not an exception. Anyway, kids probably didn't get this joke, so this episode wasn't that bad. That's a good reason to watch SpongeBob SquarePants again as grown-ups. Pet or pests? Once again, SpongeBob and Patrick were trying to have fun, but when it turned out wrong, they said that they should try to do something that requires less thinking. They found a ball that they wanted to play with until they realized that it was actually a living creature. SpongeBob was scared, but Patrick thought that the worm was really nice. This is why they invited him to stay at SpongeBob's place. Unfortunately, Gary and Mr. Worm hated each other. The snail was certainly not ready to see that he was actually living with a Mrs. Worm who was pregnant and had many babies. The two pets started fighting, and Mrs. Worm had to leave, leaving her babies with SpongeBob. He asked everyone in the neighborhood if they wanted to adopt them, but unfortunately, no one was really interested. Even SpongeBob accidentally hurt them when they ended up in the street after Larry Lobster tried to eat them. These poor little babies had lost their mother and they were badly treated by everyone else in this episode. Mr. Krabs ended up being interested in the baby worms only when he learned that they were worth a lot of money, and he sold them to his customers like they were just objects. And they call this a happy ending? These worms shouldn't live with people who are just looking for glory, but with a loving family. Every living creature deserves a better treatment. Procrastination. You probably don't understand why this episode was inappropriate, but it actually was if you look at the deleted scene. In this episode, SpongeBob had to work on an essay for his driving class. This is why he had to stay home and work hard, but he kept procrastinating and procrastinating. It had been hours and he didn't do anything. While he was in his house, SpongeBob looked at people having fun outside his window. There was a fair, people were riding a roller coaster, jellyfish were playing badminton, and even Gary was enjoying this beautiful day. And then there was Patrick putting sunscreen on Sandy and inviting his friend to join them. But SpongeBob went back at his desk and thought about how important this essay was if he ever wanted to get his driver's license. This is when we saw real-life footage of a car crash. SpongeBob fans don't know if this scene was deleted because it looked like Patrick was unhooking Sandy's bikini or because we saw a car crash. It's fun when SpongeBob can't drive because he is only a cartoon character, but seeing it in real life might be too much. No matter what, this whole scene is not appropriate for kids, and we totally understand why they decided to delete it, but we still wish that grown-ups could see the whole episode. The Battle of Bikini Bottom. Patrick and SpongeBob were happy to have their own best friend shirts, but then everything turned out wrong when they switched places and were given the wrong signals. They were kicked out of the mall and met people who were really interested in historical battles. This is why they decided to join them to reenact the Battle of Bikini Bottom. The city was divided in those who always wanted to clean their hands and those who had better things to do. This is how the two best friends ended up being divided into two teams. They started fighting to know what was better, being clean or being dirty. SpongeBob stole his friend's nose and he stole his eyeball. Patrick put sand in his friend's pants and SpongeBob gave him a pedicure. Then they started fighting with morning breath, toothpaste, armpit sweat, and deodorant. But as they kept saying the words dirty and filthy and how much they liked it, grown-ups could think of a whole different meaning. That's because being dirty or filthy can be really inappropriate for kids, while it is really enjoyable for some adults. And in this battle, they were actually fighting about people who are more prude. This alternative definition of these words gives a whole new meaning to the story, but as long as kids don't understand it, we think it is okay for them to watch this episode. I'm with stupid. This time, Patrick surprised SpongeBob while he was cleaning his house. That's not the kind of thing that he usually does, but his best friend quickly found out what was going on. He received a message from his parents saying that they were coming over tomorrow. The starfish said that his parents thought that he is dumber than a sack of diapers, and this is why he really wanted to impress them. SpongeBob tried to help him by acting dumber than he ever was before so Patrick would look smarter compared to him. That sounded like a great idea, but it is rare to see these two friends actually being smart. To look stupid, SpongeBob wore a protective helmet which could could be considered insulting to those who really need one. SpongeBob was just being funny, but Patrick took things way too far. He started making fun of his friends by saying mean things about him and what he usually does every day, like living in a pineapple, dressing like that, or simply being a sponge. SpongeBob didn't think that it was funny anymore, but Patrick didn't care. He just took advantage of the situation to make himself look better. He didn't even learn his lesson at the end of the episode. No matter what, we think that no kid should ever think that making fun of someone, whether they are disabled or not, is a good thing to do. One-course meal. In this episode, one of the characters tried to do the most terrible thing you could ever imagine. It all started while Mr. Krabs was relaxing in a bag full of money. He didn't know that Plankton was planning to enter the Krusty Krab with explosives. Once again, he was there to find the secret recipe of the Krabby Patty, and the owner of the restaurant and SpongeBob were ready to fight back. But Plankton finally caught them, and he was ready to torture Mr. Krabs to get the formula. SpongeBob accidentally revealed where the secret was hiding, but he quickly left when he saw Pearl. After all, we all know that whales eat plankton. Plankton was so terrified and disappointed that he stayed at home, started having nightmares, and became depressed. He was not even interested in the formula anymore. Not only was Pearl terrifying, but the poor Plankton did something worse. He tried to kill himself by lying in the middle of the road and get rolled over. He even asked SpongeBob to kill him. This is the worst thing that they could ever show to children. When something goes wrong, you should never think about this kind of ending. Did you see any other inappropriate episodes of SpongeBob SquarePants? Don't be shy to tell us what it is in the comments section down below. We love to hear what you think. And that's it for 10 SpongeBob SquarePants episodes that weren't for kids. For more stories like this, make sure you watch 10 The Loud House episodes that weren't for kids. Thanks for watching!